So I'm going to share with you the 12 language models or the language patterns that actually make up the meta model. So the meta model breaks up into 12 language patterns, and I'm going to share that with you so you can take it away and practice. Before this course, I was thinking how important that was. Last night, I was realizing, hang on, the inverse, which is Milton, is very important as well. And some of you may prefer to go up with ambiguous language, and some of you may prefer to go down into the specifics. Both are totally cool. The best thing about NLP is a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more questions, but we'll move forward and it will all start to make more sense. Because our human mind is constantly making shortcuts. Remember? We constantly make shortcuts. And we forget our shortcuts. Hey, who here is in a relationship?
Everybody.
Relationship with whom?
With you, with Chris.
Some people straight away would go,
classmate.
Relationship. No, I'm single. Or I'm dating. But that's a shortcut. Relationship with whom? What type of relationship? So we often forget. Now, a relationship doesn't necessarily mean I go to my kid's party and I meet another mother or a father, and sometimes I say to them, oh, your husband, or your wife, and sometimes they're like, oh, no, it's just my partner. I know that in my culture and history, mother and father are typically married. But most relationships today aren't. I think over 50%. But our brain has made the shortcut. Our brain has made shortcuts. And when we see an old couple walking down the street, we generally assume it's a husband and wife. So our brains make shortcuts and we forget them. Now, the meta model helps to highlight what those shortcuts are and raise awareness. Awareness, choice. Our surface structure cannot fully represent reality. Every time we speak to ourselves or a coach, we unconsciously reduce the deep structure we have in mind. Remember, the deep structure is big, but when we communicate like relationship, we're missing a lot of information. So we select only some of the information available in the deep structure and we leave out or delete the rest. From what we have left, we end up distorting it to make meaning. We're constantly distorting the world to make meaning. And then we generalize because we like to guess, we like to predict. It gives us safety, so we generalize. And we leave out the exceptions and the qualifiers that are irrelevant. So we say a lot of the times that it's a fact that the sun is going to rise in the east. That's not a fact. If you're on the planet Earth and you're not at the North Pole or the South Pole, the sun should probably rise in the east. So you see the deeper structure. If you're not at the North or the South Pole and we're alive and the sun's here and the earth hasn't spun around, the sun will rise in the east. But it's not a fact. We leave out a lot of deep structure. And you can nitpick anyone who says things are facts. And it can be very annoying because you can nitpick and you can poke holes in anything. You can be controversial or point out the faults or the holes in any theory. I love doing this with the current state of affairs in the world. When we hear, we automatically apply our own deletions, distortions, and generalizations to fill the gaps to make our own deep structure. The surface structure contains clues to both the deep structure of what they really mean and to the underlying models of the world in which it came from. Primarily the meta programs. The meta model is a way of recovering deeper structure and deeper models of the world of our clients, and it reminds us to be aware of our own. For most NLPs, this deletion, distortion, and generalization are a big thing. And we're going to move through with these categories: delete, distort, and generalize. But they are actually all simply the result of deleting. Remember, the world's so big, so we delete a lot. And we also end up distorting it. But the distortion is a result of deletion, and we generalize the result of deletion. But that's getting a bit too much into the specifics. So you can say the mind is always deleting things, but we end up with these three categories: deletion, distortion, generalization. And you can say this to your clients, and you might want to make a note of that, but you'll get this in your homework anyway. So our minds are deleting information, distorting information. You could imagine at nighttime, you see this long black thing, and you freak out because you think it's a snake. Your mind distorts. It's a snake. Our brain distorts. It's a snake to protect us, but it's actually just a sock or something. And we generalize. The sun rises at 6 o'clock every morning because it's summer. And this is very good to generalize because we know when winter comes, the season changes, we know when the plant crops. But you know what? Once upon a time, a man ripped me off, and he had a service station. And he told me how much he was a believer in a specific religion and how he was so ethical and good. And I think he ripped me off. So whenever I meet people like that tell me how honest they are before we do business, I generalize to protect myself. But sometimes we're wrong. In fact, a lot of the times we're wrong because our brain makes these shortcuts to save time, to protect us. But remember, sometimes we're wrong. Actually, a lot of the times we're wrong. Now, if we want to look at the facts, we're pretty much always wrong. So we might just have to make do with the information we have.
Stereotypes are generalizations that happen on a mass scale. How many people can think of a stereotype for any person, any type of people? Everybody can. Very few people are raising their hands. This idea of a generalization, when it is given to a stereotype, that is society making a generalization. And that's me generalizing about society, making generalizations about people. But stereotypes really are just a societal level generalization. Blondes have more fun. Well, which blondes? More fun than whom? We just say these things because they're lazy shortcuts. Blondes don't have more fun. Certain individuals that have blonde hair may have more fun. Others who have blonde hair may have less fun. So blondes have more fun is a generalization of catastrophically dangerous proportions. When you take a generalization to that level, you start making assumptions about people where there is no assumption to be made, based on a thing that has no connection to their identity.
Now, let's say this stereotype or generalization is causing problems for someone. Yeah, maybe you can hypnotize or do a trance and have them something. But one of the coolest things you guys will love to do, and you guys are going to love this, is that you can take them down into recovering some of their generalizations or recovering the distortions and deletions they made. Such as a great example about Chris. Chris has shared about blondes, you know. You're going to love when you see reframes. And reframes, the whole home of reframes is in here. This meta model is the home of reframing. And this is where reframing comes from. Reframing comes from meta model questions. Meta model questions moving towards specification and highlighting what may be deleted. Generally, the questions are focused around the things of how and what. How and what. Can also be when and who. I don't have who there, but who, not as in who is your identity, but like blonde, which blonde? Or when I mentioned I was ripped off by a person, well, who specifically ripped you off? And who was that person? Oh, he was working at a gas station. And yeah, he was of a particular religion or group or race or something, but who was he exactly? And we might get more precise on who he is, when it happened, what happened, and when we get down to that level of specificity, maybe I will realize that maybe it was a one-off. Maybe it was a one-off. Maybe it was just him, not the group or the class of people that he's from. Now, if you take me down to that level of specifics as to who exactly it was that ripped me off, when it was, how it happened, I might not necessarily forgive everybody, but you might loosen up my belief, which is in reference to one of Yolanda's previous things. What happens if it doesn't work? Well, it might not. It might not. You can ask the perfect question and it might not have changed, but it might loosen up. They're a model of the world, and if you loosen it up, that's a step forward.